Hello everybody, I'm Claire.
And I'm John.
And today we're going to discuss an article called Minor Criminals, Major Charges. I think the title of this article says a lot. It reveals quite a lot about what this is about. Obviously, minor is underage, non-adults.
Yes.
And major charges are pretty major crimes. But there are lots of interesting details to look forward to in the article about the nuances of what people are discussing surrounding this issue.
Yeah.
What kinds of crimes do children usually commit?
Well, I don't want to give away too much of the article because I saw a lot of similarities between my experience. I can't say my experience, but
What
the
you've
experience
seen.
I've had, what I've seen in America and other countries versus this article in Korea, based in Korea. However, I think many children often did more petty crimes a lot of the time, crimes that would be considered very small and not requiring any too strict of law enforcement or even a courthouse. However,
Civil crimes.
things have been changing, and there has been not a big one, but a small uptick in more serious crimes done by minors. A lot of those, however, are influenced by adults, not really performed by the child themselves because of themselves. And a lot of them are out of self-defense as well.
Yeah, I think certainly when I was living back in England, I associated young people, minors, with shoplifting. You know, if you heard about it in my neighborhood, I grew up in Manchester, you did get a few kids shoplifting. Usually it seemed that was kind of self-instigated, that was for the thrill of it, or people daring each other, do you dare to go and steal this thing? And you know, the police did get involved, but it's not the biggest crime in the world, so there's certainly no prison involved. But it was taken quite seriously. And a bit of inter-kid violence, you know, beating each other up outside of the school perhaps, you know, that sometimes did get them into trouble with the police, depending on how serious it was. But again, no major injuries, no knife wounds. But yeah, perhaps if I've read about crimes committed by minors in more recent times, they have been getting a bit more serious. The knives are getting involved, you know, serious or heavy drugs are involved sometimes. And it does seem perhaps a little bit more serious than before.
What is like the minimum age of criminal responsibility in the UK?
I don't know if we have one. We might have a criminal age, but even if there is one, it can be waived at the judge's discretion. So when I was about 11 years old, there was a huge case. Two also 11-year-old boys were tried for the murder of a 2-year-old boy. And they were tried as adults, and they were punished as adults as well. So I think depending on the case, it's more about what the crime is, how serious the crime is, and what the courts want to charge them as.
Yeah, I will echo that. I was wondering if it would be like similar or dissimilar to America. Most of the states in America have absolutely no minimum. You can technically charge a 2-year-old with a crime if you really wanted to in those states. However, of course, the judge would reject that quite quickly, I'm sure. Because it is up to the judge's discretion most of the time, and the court, really. If it's a serious crime, they can decide whether to try a child as an adult or not. The youngest one tried as an adult, I believe, was 12. Life in prison for some gruesome murders. I didn't look into the trial or the situation that was around it, so I'm not sure if it was an unfair situation or not for that child, but it happened. More recently, there's been, people tried as adults as 13, 14, quite normally. In fact, I won't say normally, but it's not,
Wildly
once
unusual.
every 100 years type thing, people can understand it. And then for juvenile crimes, of course, those are done as low as 8, 6, things like that, depending on the circumstance.
Well, yeah, that you can be tried as a minor, but it doesn't mean you get away with it scot-free. They will still have to go on trial. The punishments will be slightly lighter. You know, their age will be taken into consideration, but it doesn't mean their slate is wiped clean. No.
Like no crime was committed.
No. Let's take a look into the details of this article. What kinds of things have the minors been getting up to?
Minor criminals, major charges. Children younger than 14 years old are not held criminally responsible, no matter what they do. This is becoming a problem, since children under 14 have been committing a variety of serious crimes and suffering no meaningful consequences. This raises the question of whether the age of responsibility should be lowered, and by how much. Experts advise, however, that it would be more effective to address the root causes of increasing juvenile crime.